everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. If you're new, I would love for you to subscribe. I've just recently turned this channel into a book and reading channel, and I'm very excited about it. I just wanted a space to share all my thoughts about books and my reading experiences with these books. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my February wrap up. For February, I read 4 books. It was kind of a busy month. It was a short month. I don't know. It was a short month. It felt like a long month, but it was also a busy month. So I read 4 books. I'm gonna start with I'm gonna kind of do them in order. Start with the first book I read all the way up to the last book I read. Oh, and also in my last video, I posted my February TBR. I don't remember how many books I had on there. It was way more than 4. But the good thing is that because I'm very much a mood reader, I didn't actually know how many of the books I would actually read. I didn't know if I was gonna stay on course or not, but all 4 of these books were part of that TBR. So the first book that I read, I don't have a copy with me here because I actually got it from the library, and it is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. When I was done reading that book, all I could say was, what did I just read? What did I just read? I mentioned in my TBR video that the only reason why I picked up that book was because whenever I'd hear people mention that they had read it, everything was about, I mean, they basically had the same reaction. It was like, what did I just read? Everything was about the ending of that book. And apparently that was the big thing about this book is the ending. All right, I've heard this enough times that I was interested, I was intrigued, and that was really all I knew. I had no clue what the book was about. I mean, I knew it was kind of going to be like a thriller-y suspense kind of book, but I'd never read anything else from this author, and I didn't really know anything else about the book. You know that whole, like, you hear people talk up a book or like a certain thing about a book and you're thinking, it's been hyped up a lot, so I don't know if I'm going to feel that same reaction or that same intensity about this book because it's been hyped up and it might be disappointing. No, I would say everything I heard about this book is spot on, very much lives up to the hype. So I gave this book a 4-star out of 5. You know, when it comes to ratings, I really just rate my books on how I felt reading the book. You know what I mean? Like, was it interesting? Was I captivated? Did it keep me wanting to read? Did I enjoy my time reading the book? There's no way I could have anticipated or guessed how this book would end. When you think you know how it's all resolved, you still don't know. That's all I'm gonna say in terms of the ending. But you have this one character, and she is the wife of a very prominent like psychologist. She ends up meeting one of his secretaries, but you find out that he had like a little fling of some sort with this secretary. They actually didn't know that they were going to be working together until after the fact. They met at a bar or something like that, and then they end up finding out that they are actually working together. And you find this out pretty early on. And as the book progresses, the wife and the secretary end up meeting and forming a friendship. The secretary is still somewhat involved with the husband, and you know, there's a lot of secrets being kept. He doesn't actually know that his wife and the secretary have even met. Like, he doesn't, because they kind of keep it from him. He doesn't even know that they know each other, that they are friends, that they hang out, anything. You're thinking, how is this gonna work? Like, this whole situation, how is this gonna work? When you're in the mind of when it's the point of view of the wife, things start to get very concerning. She starts thinking a lot of things and saying a lot of things that you don't even understand as a reader. Honestly, 3/4 of the book, like, you understand what's happening in the story, but you don't understand why it's happening. There's a lot of things that are like sort of referred to. You don't quite understand what they have to do with anything. It really, though, isn't until the last few chapters of the book that things really start to unfold and any of it makes any sense. Even when you're almost at the end and you think it's all been figured out and revealed and all the questions have been answered, you end up getting more answers that you didn't even know you were asking or that you needed. So it definitely is right up there with The Silent Patient. Is the only other book that I had no clue what the twist was and how it was going to end. Like, no idea. I was shocked. And pretty much since then, there's really been no other book that has done that aside from this one. If you like The Silent Patient, I definitely would recommend reading Behind Her Eyes. Okay, so the second book that I read for February was part of the Shatter Me series. I read book 2, which is Unravel Me. This is like a super quick read. I gave this a 4 out of 5 star rating as well. I read the first one. I don't remember if I read it in January or did I read it in December. I don't remember now, but I actually read the first one through my library. I kind of just wanted to give it a try and see if I even liked it at all. And I enjoyed the first book. I know it's a really popular series, but I also know it's YA and it's kind of hit or miss for me with YA books. But I really actually surprisingly liked it. It's really fast. It's really easy to read and get through. The chapters are really short, so it took me no time at all to read. And I really did enjoy the story and the characters. I thought the world was really neat. It's very much like a dystopian world setting. There's some individuals in this world that have powers that they've discovered that they have. I feel like it's kind of like X-Men vibes, where it's, you know, like you have certain people that have, you know, the certain powers. Main character Juliet, anything she touches or anyone she touches, she can kill. You kind of find out, it's a lot of world building and figuring out characters in the first book. Into the second book, it's way more, I would say there's way more of the plot, understanding more of what's going on. There is what's called the reestablishment, which is run by a bunch of individuals who are, you know, they're trying to reestablish the way that the world works. It's very harsh and it is very much not going well. And so in this book, you focus a lot on Juliet and the other people who have similar powers to hers, are living in like a compound of sorts, like a hidden compound. They're basically making a plan to sort of revolt against the reestablishment. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it's an easy read. It's definitely fun, and there's a lot of twists and turns in this book, which I really like. It's not like you have to wait till the end to get any surprises or reveals. There's quite a few that happen throughout the book. A lot of quite shocking things. Characters you think you know that you don't really know. You're always kind of wondering who's on what side. So you're not quite sure the whole time who's working for who and who's truly the good guys, who are truly the bad guys. Anyway, I really enjoyed this, and I pretty much ordered book 3 as soon as I was done this, and I actually just started that a couple days ago. So spoiler, that's going to be part of my March TBR. Okay, so because it was my February TBR and it's like, you know, the month of love, I decided it wouldn't be complete without throwing in a Colleen Hoover book. So I read Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I gave this a 3. I'm looking on my Goodreads. Yeah, I gave this a 3 star. I'm not like the hugest Colleen Hoover fan. Like, I'm not like a diehard Colleen Hoover fan. I've read a few of her books. Honestly, I didn't really enjoy most of them. I'm looking to see what I have. Probably the one that Regretting You. I enjoyed Regretting You and November 9. Probably, I would say, like my favorite. They're not like 5 stars or anything like that, but of the ones I've read, they're the ones I've enjoyed the most. I would say this is pretty even with November 9 and Regretting You. What I did like about this book is that it wasn't crazy heavy on the romance. So basically this book is about a girl named Kenna. You learn that she has just come out of prison. I think she's been in prison for 5 years, and she actually has a daughter that she gave birth to just as she went to prison, and she basically got her taken away, and that's it. She hasn't seen her for the 5 years that she has been in prison. And so now she's out of prison and she has decided she wants to try to connect with her daughter. It ends up that her boyfriend's parents are the ones who have custody of her. So she figures out where they are because they still live in the same town, and she makes her way there, and she's basically trying to set up a life for herself there so that she can get close to her daughter in hopes of being a part of her life. You find out, you know, what sort of brought all that about, what happened with her and the boyfriend, who, like, they're no longer together. And there is a romance. Like, I feel like it's like not the main plot though. It's not at the forefront of the whole story, but there is a romance between her and someone else. And, you know, as you can imagine, because it's a Colleen Hoover book, there's a lot of drama, a lot of conflict, a lot of tears and arguing. My big thing is, like, look, if you just go into it and just kind of enjoy it and go for the ride, it's fine. If you think about it too much, right, then there's a lot you can pick apart in a Colleen Hoover book. And mainly for me, first of all, most of her books have like way too much smut for my liking. That's not my cup of tea. Also, I feel like the stakes are always super high, intense amounts of drama. The resolution just seems too insignificant and too quick and too small compared to all the drama. There was a little bit of that in here, but not as bad as some of the other books. All in all, like, it was enjoyable. Again, other books I read of hers, I've just been like, what in the world? I probably could have not read that and been fine. But this wasn't all that bad. I thought it was one of her better books, so 3 out of 5 stars. And then the last book that I read for February, so I'll be honest with you, I actually finished this book technically on March 1st, but I'm still gonna count it for my February recap and part of my February reads, because the majority of the reading was done in February, and then I had like 2 chapters left to read that I completed on March 1st, so we're just gonna say that this was part of February's wrap-up. And it's Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey. This was a book that is kind of random for me. I've had this sitting on my shelf for a year and a half, probably. It's hard to say what this is about. So I'll give you the simplest explanation of what this book is about. There's this girl, her name is Franny. We're basically following her as she is trying to follow the migration of these birds, the Arctic terns. I don't even know if it ever mentions what year is this supposed to be in, but it's supposed to be this point in time where almost all of the animals have gone extinct. So like global warming has like gone out of control, and just like poaching and overfishing and all that has just completely wiped out most of animals. Like they said, there's still insects and domesticated animals, but in terms of wildlife, most of it's gone. The only thing that they know for certain that there is still some of are these Arctic terns. She decides that she wants to follow them on their migration route to see how it is that they've even survived all this time. So she's trying to figure out a way that she studies birds. I don't remember what they call that when you're an expert in birds. She wants to do this so she can see and study how it is that they are still surviving and do research on them. She basically bums a ride off this fishing boat. She convinces them to let her come with them because she's like, okay, I want to follow these birds. And at the same time, wherever these birds are going, there's bound to be a plentitude of fish because they are surviving. They have to survive off of these fish that they're eating, and that'll benefit you because, you know, you're looking for, because even sea life is very much dwindling, and they're actually at the point where they're just about to shut down even like fishing vessels. That's the basic story, but it's so much more because it follows the main character throughout her life. So it's like dual timeline, and you find out what her childhood was like, the loss of her mom and her dad, and then she gets married and kind of the complicated relationship she has with her husband. The fact that she feels like she is not really connected to any one place, and it's almost like a metaphor for her life where she is also on her own migration through her life. She alludes to the fact that, you know, this is kind of her one last quest, this one last thing she wants to do with her life before she ends it. She's kind of alluding to the fact that this, you know, that this would probably be these Arctic terns' last migration, because, you know, it's a miracle they've even lasted this long, but pretty much after this last migration, they are saying, you know, there's no way they're going to be able to survive after this. And she's kind of saying the same thing, like, about her own life, that this is kind of the last hurrah for her, and she is fully prepared for this to be the end for her. So there's a lot of parallels between this journey she's on and reflecting back on her own life. I didn't annotate this book, but I kind of wish that I had, because there were quite a few parts in here that I would have liked to reference. It was just, I wasn't necessarily expecting all of that going into this. I rated this a 3 on Goodreads. I would say it's more like a 3.5. It wasn't quite a 4-star, a high 3.5, because I did enjoy it. It was a lot more bleak than I expected it to be. I don't know what I expected, I guess, but it just was a lot more heavy than I thought it would be, and it covered a lot more like heavy topics than I thought it would. And so I don't know if I enjoyed it, but it did have my attention, pretty much because every time a chapter ended, like, I didn't know where we were going next. Each chapter just kind of took you on that journey for that chapter, and you didn't quite know where we were headed. But there's a lot packed. Like, this is not a very long book. It's not even 300 pages. But it's very dense, and like I said, very full of a lot of metaphors for life, I guess, the migration of these birds, and just how it all sort of is connected with the human experience. So I still kind of don't, I mean, I rated it a 3.5, but I still kind of don't know how I feel about the book. Like, I don't know if I would recommend it necessarily. It's definitely not for everybody. I don't even know what I felt when this book was done. It did have a little bit of an unexpected ending. I kind of thought I knew like where it was headed based on the setup. That was kind of a nice change to what I thought was going to occur. Do with that what you will. 3.5 stars. That is my February wrap up. I plan on doing a March TBR. I've already started reading. As of this video, it's the 5th, so I've already started reading some books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out. If you want to leave me a comment below, let me know what was one of your favorite books that you read in February, and what is something that you are looking forward to reading in March. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.